Have you ever gotten a small cut on your finger? It probably bled a little and stung for a while, but a few days later, the wound was magically healed. Here is the thing. During those few days, something incredible was happening inside your body. Millions of tiny cells were fighting against an army of invaders. Cells so small you cannot even see them. The force leading this amazing battle is called the immune system. Simply put, the immune system is your body's defense system that keeps you safe. Today, we are going to explore what the immune system is and what really happens when you get a cut. This is the story of the tiny invisible heroes living inside you. What happens when you catch a cold? You get a runny nose, you cough for a few days, and then you feel better. Your body fights off the illness all on its own. And the reason it can do that is because of the immune system. The immune system is basically a giant defense network that protects your body. Think of it like your home. Your house has a front door with a lock, windows that close, and a doorbell to alert you when someone arrives. All of these work together to keep your home safe. The immune system works the same way. Different tools and cells team up to protect your body from harm. What would happen if we did not have an immune system? Even a tiny paper cut could become life-threatening. A simple cold during flu season could turn extremely dangerous. That is how important the immune system is to our survival. So what does the immune system actually look like? It is made up of hundreds of small organs. It also has 2 large organs. And there are pathways that connect every part of your body, like roads connecting different parts of a city. Immune cells travel along these pathways to get wherever they are needed. Every single day, the immune system produces tens of billions of fresh new cells. Tens of billions is hard to imagine, right? Let us say your class has 30 students. You would need to gather those 30 students more than 300 million times to reach tens of billions. That is an absolutely enormous number. And every one of these cells has its own special job. The most important cells in this immune army are called white blood cells. White blood cells are specialized defense cells that protect your body. Their name literally means white cells in your blood. White blood cells are made in a place called the bone marrow. The bone marrow is the soft part inside your bones. Once white blood cells are born there, they travel through your bloodstream to every corner of your body. They also move through another network called the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is a special set of pathways that helps remove waste and toxins from your body. There are a lot of white blood cells in your body. In just 1 microliter of blood, there are between 4,000 and 11,000 white blood cells. A microliter is an incredibly tiny amount, so small you can barely see it. Yet even in that tiny drop of blood, thousands of white blood cells are packed inside. White blood cells patrol your body non-stop. They check your blood, your tissues, and your organs. Think of them like security guards walking through a building, constantly looking for anything suspicious. But how do white blood cells know who the enemy is? This is where something called an antigen comes in. An antigen is a marking found on the surface of harmful germs and viruses. It is like the tracking number on a package. When you see the tracking number, you know where the package came from. White blood cells read these antigen markings to figure out whether something is a friend or an enemy. When white blood cells detect an antigen, the immune response kicks in within just a few minutes. It is like your body's alarm system going off. So the immune system works by using white blood cells to detect antigens and identify enemies. But what actually happens when you get a real wound? How do these cells spring into action? Let us imagine a perfectly ordinary day. You are playing in the park. You are running around and suddenly a dirty twig pokes your finger. Your thumb is bleeding a little. You look at it and think, ouch, that stings. It is annoying, but that is about it. But from the perspective of the cells inside your body, this is a completely different story. Your cells were going about their daily business in peace. Then suddenly everything starts shaking. The ground cracks open and buildings collapse. It is like a massive meteor just crashed into a quiet town, like a violent storm appearing out of nowhere. At the site of the wound, terrible things are happening. Cells are injured and blood is leaking out. Foreign objects have gotten inside too. Foreign objects are things that are not supposed to be in your body, like tiny pieces of twig or specks of dirt. But there is an even bigger problem. Bacteria are flooding in through the wound. Bacteria are germs so tiny you cannot see them with your eyes. They were clinging to the twig and the dirt, and now they are pouring into your body. The bacteria love it inside your warm body. It is like walking into a cozy, heated house on a freezing cold day. So they settle right in. They steal your body's nutrients for themselves. And they leave their waste everywhere. If nothing is done, this could become a serious problem. That is when your body's defense kicks in. The cells that survive near the wound are still there. Some are injured and struggling. These cells start pumping out special chemicals as fast as they can. These chemicals act as an alarm signal. Think of a burglar alarm going off when someone breaks into a house. That is exactly what is happening here. The chemicals the cells release are a distress signal screaming, "Intruders have broken in." When this alarm goes off, the immune system's cells come rushing to the scene. So bacteria have invaded and the alarm has been triggered. Who is the first hero to arrive? Remember the white blood cells we talked about earlier? The defense cells that protect your body? These white blood cells are divided into two main teams. The first team is called phagocytes. Phagocytes are cells that eat enemies directly. Their name actually means eating cells. Think of a hungry frog snapping up a bug right in front of it. Phagocytes work the same way. They hunt down invaders and swallow them whole. The second team is called lymphocytes. Lymphocytes fight using information. Instead of charging in directly, they figure out the enemy's weakness and then strike with precision. Let us start with the first team, the phagocytes. When the alarm goes off, the first hero to rush in is the macrophage. A macrophage is a very large cell that eats enemies. Its name literally means big eater. Macrophages are truly huge. If a normal cell were the size of a person, a macrophage would be the size of a black rhinoceros. Have you ever seen a rhino at the zoo? They are much bigger and heavier than a person. That is how big a macrophage is compared to other cells. Macrophages are usually quiet and calm, but when they get angry, they become terrifying. And bacteria make them very, very angry. Within seconds, macrophages launch their attack. A macrophage stretches out long arms, almost like the tentacles of an octopus. It grabs a bacterium and holds on tight. Then it swallows the bacterium whole. And inside its stomach, the bacterium is dissolved and broken down. Think of a vacuum cleaner sucking up dust. The macrophage sucks in bacteria and destroys them just like that. A single macrophage can devour about 100 bacteria before it gets exhausted. If your class has 30 students, that is more than 3 times your entire class. The macrophage keeps eating until it completely runs out of energy. But there is a problem. There are just too many enemies. Macrophages alone are not enough, so they call for backup. That is when a new type of cell arrives, the neutrophil. Neutrophils are combat specialist cells that float around in your blood. Neutrophils are truly special. They live for one purpose only, to fight enemies. Here's something surprising. Neutrophils are designed to fade away on their own, just a few days after they are born. Why? Because their attacks are so fierce that if they stayed around too long, they could damage your own body's cells. So once their mission is complete, they quietly disappear, like a firework that explodes brilliantly and then fades into the night sky. When neutrophils arrive at the battlefield, they attack immediately. First, they spray harmful chemicals at the bacteria. Then they gobble up the bacteria. Neutrophil attacks are incredibly intense. They are so fierce that even your own body's cells get caught in the crossfire. It is like spraying water to put out a fire, but getting everything around it wet too. But neutrophils do not have time to worry about that right now. Stopping the enemy is far more urgent. Then something even more remarkable happens. Some neutrophils use a method where they burst open on their own. When a neutrophil bursts, its DNA spreads out like a wide net. DNA is basically a very long, thread-like material found inside every cell. This DNA net is loaded with toxic substances. You know how a bug gets trapped in a spider web and cannot escape? This net works the same way. Bacteria get tangled in it and cannot break free. But unlike a spider web, this net is filled with poison, making it even more deadly. Incredibly, neutrophils can keep fighting even after they are gone. That is how dedicated they are to protecting you. So macrophages and neutrophils are fighting hard on the front lines. But something else is changing on the battlefield. Your body is starting to send in reinforcements. While macrophages and neutrophils are battling away, your body does something special. Blood vessels open wide. Blood vessels are the pathways that carry blood through your body. When you turn a faucet on full blast, more water rushes out. The same thing happens here. When blood vessels widen, more blood flows toward the wound. And with that blood, even more defender cells come rushing in. At the same time, damaged cells are doing something important. They release special chemicals. These chemicals cause fluid to rush toward the area around the wound. This fluid is basically water-like liquid from inside your body. The fluid helps attract phagocytes to the area. It is like how bees are drawn to the scent of flowers. Phagocytes follow the signal in the fluid and gather at the wound. You notice all of this as inflammation. Inflammation is your body's way of reacting to fix an injury. Your injured finger swells up a little. It turns red. It feels warm to the touch. Have you ever fallen and noticed your knee getting red and puffy? That is inflammation. It might feel uncomfortable and annoying, but it is actually a good sign. It means your body is working hard to heal that spot. Sometimes when you catch a cold, your body gets a fever. This is also something the immune system does on purpose. When your body temperature rises, bacteria and viruses have a harder time growing. They are sensitive to temperature changes. You know how ice cream melts quickly when you leave it in a warm place? In the opposite way, germs struggle to function when the temperature goes up. Your body deliberately raises its temperature to weaken the enemy. Along with all the extra blood, a special weapon also arrives. It is called complement. Complement proteins are tiny weapons that float around in your blood. Millions of them come flooding in all at once. Complement works automatically. Nobody has to tell it what to do. It attacks bacteria all on its own. Think of a motion sensor light that turns on by itself. When someone walks up to your front door, complement works the same way. The moment bacteria appear, it activates on its own. Complement punches holes in the bacteria's body. When you poke a hole in a balloon with a needle, the air leaks out and the balloon shrivels up. That is basically what happens. Bacteria with holes in them slow down and eventually are destroyed. Now the situation splits into two possible paths. If things go well, macrophages, neutrophils, and complement work together and wipe out all the invaders. The battle is over. Your wound heals quickly. But sometimes the enemy is just too strong and too numerous. The cells fighting on the front lines simply cannot keep up. If nothing changes, things could get really dangerous. That is exactly when a very special cell steps in. So inflammation and complement are helping on the battlefield. But sometimes that is just not enough. What secret plan does your body have next? When the frontline fighters cannot handle the invasion alone, a special cell enters the picture. It is called the dendritic cell. A dendritic cell is a cell that gathers information about the enemy and delivers it to others. Think of it as the intelligence agent of the immune army. Dendritic cells do not fight directly. Instead, they carry out a critically important secret mission. While other cells are battling on the front lines, the dendritic cell captures a bacterium. It tears the bacterium into very small pieces. These pieces are the antigens we learned about earlier, the enemy's markings. The dendritic cell sticks these antigen fragments all over its own body. Here's a way to picture it. Police take a photo of a criminal and put it on a wanted poster for everyone to see. The dendritic cell does something similar. It covers itself with pieces of the enemy and goes around showing other cells. This is what the bad guy looks like. The dendritic cell leaves the battlefield carrying this information. It enters a pathway called the lymph vessel. A lymph vessel is like a highway that immune cells travel on. This highway connects every part of your body, and it leads all the way to immune system headquarters. The dendritic cell races down this highway searching for a very special cell, the helper T cell. A helper T cell is like the commander of the immune army. It is the one who decides which weapons to use and where to attack. An incredibly important cell. But not just any helper T cell will do. The dendritic cell needs to find one that has the exact right weapon for the specific bacteria that invaded your body. The dendritic cell goes from helper T cell to helper T cell, showing each one the antigen fragments stuck to its body. It is basically asking, do you recognize this enemy? Most helper T cells shake their heads. I do not know this one, they seem to say. But after a few hours, something clicks. One helper T cell recognizes the antigen fragment. It is just like a lock and a key. You have to find the one key out of hundreds that fits the lock, perfectly for the door to open. The dendritic cell has found the perfect key, the right helper T cell. Here is something truly astonishing. Your immune system has weapons, ready for virtually every disease that exists in the world. Diseases spreading right now, diseases from the distant past, and even future diseases it has never encountered before. How is that possible? It is because your body has hundreds of millions of different helper T cells. Each one carries a unique weapon. So no matter what enemy shows up, there is always a cell with the right weapon waiting somewhere in your body. The right helper T cell has been awakened. Your body's second line of defense is now online. So the dendritic cell delivered the information, and the helper T cell has awakened. What happens next? The real counterattack begins. The helper T cell is awake, but it does not rush to the battlefield right away. It has something important to do first. It needs to make copies of itself. Making copies means creating many identical versions of itself, like a photocopier printing out pages. The helper T cell goes from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, and keeps doubling until there are thousands. But this process takes time. Powerful, yes. Fast, not quite. Once thousands of copies are made, the helper T cells split into two groups. The first group races to the battlefield. Things have gotten desperate. After days of fighting, the macrophages are completely exhausted. All they want to do is rest. Then the helper T cells arrive. One of them approaches a tired macrophage and delivers a special chemical signal. The moment the macrophage receives this signal, something incredible happens. It is completely re-energized. It is like waking up from a long, deep sleep feeling fully refreshed. But it is not just energy that comes back. An intense fury returns as well. The macrophage knows exactly what it has to do. Destroy the enemy! It charges right back into the thick of battle. This is happening all across the battlefield. Meanwhile, the second group of helper T cells heads somewhere else. They go looking for B cells. B cells are like factories that produce special weapons. The helper T cells search for the B cell that matches the specific bacteria they are fighting. Just like a lock and a key, it has to be a perfect fit. After a day or two, the right B cell is found. That B cell starts making copies of itself too. 1 becomes 2, 2 become 4, growing rapidly. Once enough B cells are produced, the ultimate weapon is finally unleashed: antibodies. An antibody is a special protein weapon designed to catch enemies. They have a really fun shape. Each antibody has 2 little claws, making it look like a tiny crab. These claws grab onto bacteria and hold on tight. Here is the important part. Each antigen has a specific antibody that fits it perfectly. Remember the lock and key? The shape of the antibody's claws matches only the antigen of that particular bacterium. It does not work on other enemies. It catches only that specific one. The number of antibodies a single B cell produces is staggering. About 2,000 per second. 2,000 every single second. That is 120,000 in just 1 minute. It is like a factory where products pour off the assembly line non-stop. About 1 week has passed since the bacteria first entered the body. Finally, this massive army arrives at the battlefield in full force. Tiny antibodies start flooding the battlefield. They latch onto bacteria. They clamp down with their claws. When multiple antibodies attach to a single bacterium, it cannot move at all. It is like being tied up with layer after layer of rope, completely immobilized. That is when the macrophages and neutrophils charge in. They destroy the helpless bacteria in an instant. The tide of battle turns rapidly. The enemy's numbers drop fast. After the last invader is gone, the immune cells realize they are no longer needed. Most of them quietly fade away to save the body's energy. They have completed their mission, and they disappear without a sound. But not all of them are gone. Some helper T cells stay behind and become memory cells. Memory cells are cells that remember information about the enemy for a very long time. When you write something important in a diary, you can look back at it later whenever you need to. Memory cells work the same way. They carefully store all the information about the bacteria they just fought. So if that same bacteria ever comes back, the response will not take a whole week this time. The immune system can strike back almost immediately. Some B cells survive too. They keep producing small amounts of antibodies to stay prepared, in case that bacterium returns. These B cells might stay in your body for the rest of your life. This is exactly why you do not get chickenpox twice. Memory cells and B cells remember everything about that disease. If the same enemy ever shows up again, they wipe it out before it can cause any harm. A healthy immune system fights off about 300 colds over a lifetime. 300. That is an incredible number. From the time you are young until you grow old, your body wins battle after battle. And each time, new memory cells are created, making your body even stronger. One morning you wake up and look at your finger. There is just a faint red mark left. The wound has completely healed. You had no idea what was happening inside your body during those few days. All you felt was a little sting and some itching. But inside that tiny wound, millions of cells were fighting with everything they had to protect you. Macrophages devoured the enemy. Neutrophils threw themselves into battle. Dendritic cells gathered intelligence and ran. Helper T cells commanded the army. B cells unleashed thousands of antibodies. And memory cells stayed behind, ready for next time. Of course, the immune system does not always work perfectly. There is something called an autoimmune disease. This is when the immune system makes a mistake and attacks your own healthy cells. Diseases like arthritis, type 1 diabetes, and multiple sclerosis fall into this category. But these cases are not very common. Most of the time, the immune system does an incredible job of keeping you safe. Next time you scrape your knee or scratch a mosquito bite, think about it for a moment. Right now, at this very second, tiny heroes inside your body are fighting for you. Your body is truly amazing. But today's story is just a tiny piece of the immune system's grand tale. There are so many more incredible secrets we did not get to cover today. We will explore them together in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It really helps us out more than you might think. And if you do not want to miss the next part of this immune system series, make sure to subscribe to our channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you will be the first to know when a new video drops. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.